Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe so that you get all the relevant information that I'm going to present in this series. The intent of making this series is to get you through all the questions that are very frequently asked, especially by students, international students coming to Canada. And if they have a family, they are a parent of a child or two, they need to know certain things which are different from those who are not coming with the family. So there are different kind of questions that they have in their mind because they have to make certain different decisions than others who are just starting their journey for study, only for study, single person, not with the family. So this series will be in parts. So to begin with, there are few basic questions which are very frequent, which I'm going to answer in this video. And if you can subscribe, you will follow the next parts of the series, which will cover up any questions coming from your side or additionally that are already in my list which I need to answer. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to this video, and now let's talk about the must-knows. Now, what are the must-knows that we are going to talk in this part are which visa to apply for your spouse and kids. Now, obviously, if you are coming on an international student visa, dependent would be your spouse and kids. Now, the question arises, if you're studying, obviously your spouse will have an open work permit, but what about the kid? We'll talk about that more in detail. We'll also talk about should I apply for visa along with the family. So if you're coming on a student visa, are you supposed to apply your family's visa at the same time, or you should stop and wait? We'll talk about that. And if you're waiting, when is the right time? Do you need to have an admission letter for your kid when you're coming to Canada or applying for the visa? When you should do it? Is it needed or not needed at all? We'll talk about that. We'll also see whether you need to show extra funds if you are bringing your family together with you, or maybe later if you are you supposed to bring that in. And we'll also talk about specifically admission for the kids, whether you need to show any extra funds just for that purpose. And finally, we'll wrap this up by talking about how to get a school admission for the kids in Canada. So before we get too much into depth and discuss more about it, I just want to clarify that it's not the sponsored video and I'm just giving my own opinion. This is all that I have gathered through my journey, my lessons learned from my journey. So I'm just trying to share it with you because most of the people who have come through me, some friends, have been asking me what is the process and how should they do. So instead of giving those answers one by one, I thought to create this video so that you are all who need this information can benefit from it. So let's get started and talk about the first one. So the first one that we are going to talk now is which visa to apply for spouse and kids. Before we actually jump into that, let's talk about if you're applying for your visa for the family. One, if it is a kid who is going to study here once you are here, or whether that kid is coming with you or you're coming first and your spouse and kids are coming later, you have to apply for a student visa for the kids as well. So that's one thing. For your spouse, it is always permissible to go for open work permit. That's based on the dependent visa, and that's how this is a visa that you are going to apply for your spouse and kids. So I'm going to repeat that. For spouse, it is going to be dependent open work permit so that they can come here and work whenever they land here. And secondly, for your kids, if they are going to go to school or college, you need to have their student visa. Now again, second thing that comes into my mind which I should clarify, when you talk about kids, if they are studying until high school, then you don't have to think about college fees and everything. We'll talk more in detail, but here we are just talking about the visa, so I'll just stop here and move to the next one with more details. So specifically for kids, you need to go for student visa as well. You cannot apply for any other visa. You should not, rather. I have seen few cases where the kids are on visitor visa. Well, that's not permissible. I think you can come with that, but that's not what it should be ideally. If you do not have an option and that works for you, you can do that. But ideally, in the ideal situation, and what is recommended is a student visa so that they can easily come here and study. For visitor visa, you can come here with your kids. Your kid might be on a visitor visa, but that is permitted for a certain period of time, and you might have an issue here while getting admission. So if you're applying, go for a student visa for your kid as well. Let's now talk about, should you apply visa for family along with you if you're coming on a student visa. Well, the first thing is the situation for everybody is different. So if you are in a situation where you can hold on to bring your family in the first go, and you can come here and start your journey and then bring in your family later, I would suggest that's the best option for you, because it actually reduces your risk of rejection when you apply for your student visa. But if you cannot, then it's not a showstopper for you. You can also apply for your family and your kid. As I said, that for a kid, make sure you also apply for a student visa so that your kid doesn't face any problem while getting admission in the school. Until high school, they can get very easily. Or if you have elder kids and they want to go to college, again, they will need a student visa as well. So you can surely take your family along, come with them if you don't have an option. But if you can go for it, it's always suggested to have first semester alone, come here, have your first semester done, and then apply for your family's visa. They can come over and they can enjoy life here in Canada with you. But that reduces actually the risk of rejection for you in first place, and it's easier and less hassle than doing it all in one go. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest. So yes, so the next question that we are going to talk about is, do you need to have an admission letter for your kid at the time of visa application? So if you're applying your visa from India or any other country, would you need to have an admission letter? There are consultants who are actually demanding for it. They would ask you to try and get it from Canada, which is kind of difficult, especially if you do not know which address you're going to be applying for. So obviously, when you're applying for visa, you do not know where you are going to land in Canada if you're going along with your family in the first go. But yes, if you're already in Canada and you are here for your first semester or couple of semesters, you know your place where you are staying, you know your address, so you can walk up to the nearest school. See in the lookup, which I'm going to talk about in my upcoming series videos, we will talk about how to get an admission when you are here and what is the process. Or if you want to check that from any location, you can go online and check that based on your address. You can also check your busing information. So keeping that aside, coming back to the point again, so yes, so admission letter, if you're applying from India, is not recommended to have. Some consultants will ask for it, but if you are coming for the first time with along with your family, you might have troubles to get that. Don't worry about it, you can still get a visa for your child without that. That's the experience I'm talking about from a lot of people I have spoken to and I have seen myself. So don't get carried away with that. If you're here, you can easily attain that because you're here and you can do some stuff, but from India it's really difficult. So if you don't have, don't worry, just apply for your kids student visa and your family. If they all are getting approved, you will have no issues getting your kids admission here. It's just you need to walk out to the school, nearby school, and they are very welcoming and they will help you. So let's move next to the other part. So yeah, the next question is, do you need to show extra funds if you're coming with a family? Now again, there are two things to it. One is, if you're applying your visa and your family's visa at the same time, you surely have to go for your GIC if you're an international student. That's out of question. So let's keep that aside. You would need extra funds to be shown. So if your GIC is Canadian dollars 10,000, let's say, that amount would again be needed for your family. So you'll have to show 20,000. 10,000 will go into your prox 10,000. That's the amount that will go for your GIC. But in your account, you should also show some amount equivalent to that, around $10,000, for your kid and family. That is to show that if you bring them in, you can sustain them without a job and they can live with you easily. And you can, if needed, there are some additional costs attached to cost of living in Canada, you can bear that. So that's the purpose of showing that. It's always good to show those funds because that will add on to your visa application and it will strengthen your visa application actually for a positive outcome. So I would always recommend to show extra funds if you have, especially if you're applying for your kid and your family or just a kid or family member. Go for extra funds. That's must to have 10,000 plus your 10,000 GIC. On top of it, if you have an additional, that's a win-win for you. But if you don't have, don't worry. At least 20,000, including GIC, should be there. So in this last part, we will be talking about how to get a school admission for your kid in Canada. Now, if you arrive in Canada and you have a valid work permit or a student visa and your kid has a student visa, so you should, the first thing you need to have is a residential address, which I presume that when you land here, you would have that in hand. So once you have that, there is an online portal in any province that you can go to. It's online, and the province you are living in Canada, you just have to look up to the address. It's very easy. I'll be creating another video for that, and you can just stay tuned and subscribe to my channel so that once it is posted, it will be coming soon. You can see how to get that. And once you do that, it will list out the schools that are in your nearby area that you qualify for based on the pin code or the postal code of your area. And then you can walk up to the school with your documents. You should have your passport, valid visa, and student visa for your kid that you can go up to. If you don't have that and you are coming on a visitor visa, still your kid can study here, but it's always permissible to have a student visa, as we already spoke about. So these are few things which you should do. Again, if you want to know about whether your kid will be eligible for the busing facility or not, again, that portal will help you. There are online portals that will help you and tell you whether you are eligible or not. So that's a very easy process. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about the process after visa, including the school admission. There are people who are concerned about whether how the kids will study here, whether they will get an admission. It should not happen that you start studying as a parent and your kid is suffering. That does not happen. Once you're here, you will easily get that admission with the valid work visa and the permits that your family has. So, well, I know there are a lot of other questions that might be coming to your mind, or you might just be preparing, not ready for the visa, just thinking about it, whether that's even feasible or not. So, even if that is the case, I know there are questions like how to find home for my family, what is the cost of living, will I be able to get daycare if my kid is young, or I need to work. It's very expensive out here. The cost of living is very high. So, if you want to keep your kids into the day boarding or the daycares like we used to do in other countries. So, can we do that? How much does it cost? How much can I earn alone as a student? And if you are together, whether that's feasible, not feasible, right? Can you look for the job before you arrive in Canada? What are the monthly expenses that you should expect once you land alone or with the family? We'll talk about all of these questions in my series that is upcoming. There will be more and more areas explored out together. Let's go through that. I would rather suggest, if you are just starting your journey, even making a decision or just thinking about it, make sure that you gather as much as information as you can. Do not land up with surprises. Do not have open questions in mind and take decisions. Get your data ready, get everything in place, and take a sound decision. If I can help you with that, I'll be more than happy to do that. Because when I started my journey, there were so many questions unanswered. Some I got answers to, some I did not, but I landed here and found my answers now. It's been few years here in Canada, but I think those who are starting or looking for answers, they should not struggle. That's the reason I'm making this series. Feel free to drop me a message. And if you have more questions, please do not worry. I'm happy to help you. That's why I'm taking out time from my regular chores and my other commitments and giving you this time so that you can reach out to me directly. Subscribe to my channel. Please hit a like if you like it or you think it benefited you. I'm more than open for the feedback as well, how I can make this better. Drop me a message for in the chat saying more info. You can also email me. My email address is here and it's in the description and in the channel. Feel free to reach out and I'll see you soon. Stay well and cheers.